Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to the M4J network here on OpenTTD. Today we are stepping away from the railway for a little bit. Although saying that, we do actually do some railway building during this episode, but not a huge amount. Today we're working on something that someone suggested to me almost a year ago now. And I can't believe it has been that long, because it feels like yesterday that it was first suggested. But we're going to be working on something that I'm calling currently the Grand Canal. Now the Grand Canal is going to be formed of multiple sections that run across the entirety of the map. So we already had a little canal structure up at Motherboard Falls that connected the sea to Motherboard Lake, which as we know now is the big lake just to the north of Motherboard Falls. The falls themselves are part of the canal. The bit where the canal actually goes into the sea, there's a bit of river that runs down the middle of that section as well. They are the Motherboard Falls that give the town its name. Much like Niagara Falls, the city is named after Niagara Falls, the waterfalls. So that's a thing now, and it kind of explains the backstory of Motherboard Falls a little bit better. Plus why Motherboard Lake is called Motherboard Lake and not Motherboard Falls Lake, because they are two separate things. Anyway, so the Grand Canal probably won't ever get fully utilised. So I don't think, when I originally came up with the idea, I had sort of a plan to have boats running between Motherboard Falls and somewhere off to the east of Guard City. Whether that happens or not now, I'm not 100% sure, because I've actually had a look at some of the boats since I finished recording the episode. They're not the fastest, let's just say that. They're not the fastest. So, we might have some boats running on some shorter parts of the journey, but not like massive journeys, because I think that will be very cost prohibitive. And yeah, I just don't think we'd make any money from it. Maybe if we used oil, something like that, that could work. But even then, oil refineries tend to be built quite close to the coast anyway. I think that's part of their requirements. So, we'll see. I'll say that, we'll see. As you can see here, I am currently ripping holes through the middle of towns and cities. The regrowth, I'm looking at it now actually on my laptop, and the regrowth has worked out quite well. So I'm quite happy with that. It was always my plan to connect some key lakes together along the route, particularly as we get closer towards Guard City. You see there the big lake just to the south of Great Winfield and Wenfingfield, plus this little basin here with Great Western crosses over on that little peninsula. This is where I do some rebuilding of the railway. The old metro tracks there that I've just gotten rid of. I say the old metro tracks, they're relatively new. They were built when we built the second terminal at Great Winfield Airport. And again, let me just scooch over there on my laptop so I can talk you through it a little bit better what I've actually done. I do like the way that the canal does snake its way through. It's 4 tiles wide along the majority of its route. Sometimes it goes down to 3. I think at one point it does actually get down to 2. But where it crosses over railways, particularly here where it crosses over the metro, I'm actually building an interchange station. This is an interchange station, 4 platforms, 2 through platforms and 2 terminus platforms. So when it comes to running multiple routes along the metro tracks, one route will continue down to the airport, and in fact I've rebuilt the airport station, which I don't think I showed fully last episode in the signalling tutorial. I did show the mainline platforms, but I didn't show the fact that I'd moved the metro platforms to the southern side of the airport and created a loop. So I'll show you that next time when I start surveying more routes. Those of you that have checked out the episode plans, you will see now that next episode we're actually looking at building new rail routes rather than just adding trains to existing ones. So yeah, this set of platforms I moved multiple times to try and get it to work. It was all to do with the waypoints, because obviously if a train's entering a terminus platform, it has to enter at a certain speed and no faster. So in order to get the waypoints in to make that possible, I actually swapped the terminus platforms with the through platforms just so that I had a little bit of extra space, basically. There's no other logistical reason besides that. And yeah, overall, like I said, quite happy with it. I haven't renamed the station here yet, actually. I've just called it Flarfingford North for now. And you could see I'll add a little notch in a second for where the dock actually goes, which I can build now, actually, because at the time I couldn't, because the water hadn't regenerated properly, but now I can. But yeah, at several points along the route there are interchanges. So there is a dock and there is a railway station or a bus station. Morningpool Falls has also been slightly adjusted. There's been, where the old Transrapid platforms were, I've rebuilt that as non-electrified rail now, with, I think it's 5 or 7, it's an odd number, I know that much, I think it's 7 new platforms for Morningpool Falls, and a dock connection there as well. I was thinking of running like a cruise liner type thing between Morningpool Falls and Guard City, in particular Guard Lake. Whether I get that going or not, I don't know. But I'll certainly look into it because it's quite a nice idea. I should also apologise again for my voice and my sniffling. I've still got a cold. Like, I don't feel like I've got a cold, but I clearly have a cold because my voice is funny and I'm bunged up a lot. So apologies for that. It should be getting better soon, I hope. If not, then oh well. But yeah, my deep voice, that's what I was getting at. So this part here, you can see I've built this sort of basin. This is kind of inspired by real life canals. They do sometimes have, I mean, locks are prevalent all around the world. But in the UK in particular, I'm trying to remember what canal it is. But there is a canal somewhere in the UK that has a series of locks like a staircase. It's quite a famous landmark. And I think I don't think it's the Grand Union Canal, but I think it's something like that. So I sort of replicated that, not so much on this side of things, but as we head further south, it does get quite hilly. So I was thinking of recreating that and having like a huge lake at the top for boats to go through. But on this side of things, there is, again, somewhere in the UK where there's just a big basin. It's kind of like a floating harbour, I suppose. Like in Bristol, there's a floating harbour that actually sits above the level of the River Avon. And that's kind of what I wanted to go with that section there, because I had to move it off to the side anyway, for a project that's taking place next episode, in fact. So it made sense to sort of re-divert the canal off to the north a little bit more, which meant ending up with that kind of L-shaped basin. So I decided to use it for something quite nice. I've lost my words today. I lose my words a lot. I don't know why I keep saying I've lost my words, because I clearly never found them to begin with, but you know what I mean. So this is the less exciting part of the episode now, which is building a series of navigation buoys. And again, I know there's a debate about whether it's buoy or buoy. And there might even be a third pronunciation. My argument is always thus. I say buoyancy. If something floats in water, it is said to have buoyancy. In fact, even if something sinks in water, it still has buoyancy. It's just a lower number. So my question to you is, if you think buoy or buoy is pronounced a certain way, then how do you pronounce the word buoyancy? That's the only food for thought I'll give you. I don't think there is a right way of saying it, because I totally get why some people say buoy, because it is B-U-O-Y. I also get why people say buoy, because buoyancy. That's how I say it. So I'm not going to get into that debate, for a change. I say that as well. For a change, I'm not going to get into a pronunciation debate, because I do that quite a lot, actually. I do know people that do say words in slightly unusual ways, but it's a nice quirk, I suppose. So this episode is quite short. You'll see it's only 20 minutes long, or 22 minutes, I think it is. The reason being is I had to cut a lot of stuff out of this episode, and part of it is what you're seeing now. So when I built the canals themselves, I obviously knew that there was ground still and the water would have to flow back through. What I didn't anticipate was just how long that would take. So I've actually sped up the time-lapse footage in this section further than I would normally do. So normally I put it into my editing software, so the overall footage here is about 2 hours long. And normally I just click and drag from the end of the footage until the software can't go any further, and then that's my time-lapse speed. I think it's times 8. I'm not 100% sure, because it turns an hour-long clip into about, I don't know, 10 minutes. So it's probably about times 6. Times 6, times 8, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But on this instance, because this water took so long, and when I was recording the footage for this, I was actually watching TV at the same time. 2 hour-long shows went by before I finished doing this naming of the boys. So it's a long clip. So I actually took some bits out completely. You won't see them, and there were some bits like this bit that you're watching here, where I sped it up external to this video, and then re-imported it into the editing software. And in this video file that I'm working with now, I sped it up a little bit more, just so it goes by a little bit quicker. The naming system for the boys is quite easy. Basically, from west to east is number 1, and it goes, the further east you go, the higher the number. There is a small exception, which is we do meet the Guard River just by, let me find out, just before the lines out of Guard City St. Elizabeth cross over and under the Guard River is where the Grand Canal meets it. So it's the Grand Canal itself ends at that point, although it's the western side of it that ends at that point. I think I have just called it Grand Canal though. Each buoy is only called Grand Canal. In fact, that's not even there where it ends. The Grand Canal itself ends at the lake just before that. Buntown Waters is the name of the lake. I have named all these lakes now as well, by the way. But I think as part of the Patreon pledges, if you pledge over a certain amount, I think is it $5, where you can start naming mainline routes. I think it's that tier. It might be the $10, I'm not 100% sure, but whichever tier is the first one that allows you to name mainline routes, I will also now allow you to name sections of the Grand Canal or the Guard River. So particularly the lakes, because the lakes are easiest to name because they're huge bodies of water, and I can just say, that's such and such. But when there's like the canal, for example, maybe the basin actually, because it's currently called Cheward Basin. But if someone supports me on Patreon and then says I'd like to rename Cheward Basin, you're more than welcome to do so, because quite frankly, it's not a good name really, is it? Cheward Basin. I mean, Cheward sounds like a beaver sanctuary, doesn't it? Cheward Basin. That's actually, maybe I should use that for something in the future. I don't know what, because I don't work with animals, but someone use that name please for a beaver sanctuary. Cheward Basin. Awesome. But yeah, naming sections of the river would be a little bit more difficult, because unless I put down markers of some kind, you won't really know where your section begins or ends. Where was I going with this? Oh yes, the Grand Canal ends at Buntown Waters, and then even actually where Great Winfield Airport is. The Grand Canal currently comes off to the north, but I'm thinking of doing a southern point as well, because it seems a bit of a roundabout way at the moment, because towards Guard City it actually starts heading north again, and then it joins the Guard River, and then it snakes its way through into Guard Lake. Guard Lake, by the way, is a lake that can't be changed. That one will always be Guard Lake. But yeah, once you're in Guard City, there isn't really at the moment a southern exit, and I need some boats to be able to go south. I'm trying to find it at the moment actually. Where did I build it? I always lose where I built Guard City South Freight Terminal. Let's see, there's Shoreham Junction. Keep heading south this way. I found it. Yeah, and there's a massive lake right next to it. So I think from Great Winfield Airport I'll build a second river canal, maybe of a different name, that will join up there. But yeah, the Grand Canal ends at Cheward Basin. Well, yeah. Officially it ends at Cheward Basin. Unofficially it ends at Buntown Waters. And then there's a little extra river that joins Guard River, the Guard River West, just before the lines out of GSE crossover. And then from there it's the Guard River West all the way into Guard Lake. So I think I will have some ships. I'm going to test having passenger ships running between somewhere off to the west and Guard Lake. I don't know how successful that will be. In fact, maybe not Guard Lake. Maybe I'll actually use the piers over in Docklands, because that's kind of what they were built for, was to serve multiple routes. So I'll see about doing that instead. But yeah, I mean, I've basically finished describing it, to be honest. If anyone does have any extra questions or anything like that, the best place to ask me would be on Reddit. If you go on the M4J Gaming Reddit community and find the post about this video, because I don't always get it on time, unfortunately, because sometimes I'm not by my computer when it actually goes live, but 9 times out of 10 I tend to post it when it goes live. So first of all, you'll be able to see when the video goes live. Second of all, if you have any questions, you can comment below those posts with the questions, and I'll either answer them directly in the chat there, or I'll make sure I answer it in the next video that I record. And I use those words carefully, because I don't always record videos a day or two before they actually go up. Sometimes I do record in advance. So some of the GSMA, God City St. Mark footage, I've already recorded. Although I haven't done the audio for it yet, I've done the video. So just bear that in mind. If you do ask a question and I answer it in a video, it might be 2-3 weeks. Hopefully the question's still valid by then. If not, then I can only apologise. But yeah, I think I've done all the talking that I wanted to do today. My voice is aching, shall we say. It's a bit sore still. Between episodes, I'm actually going to remove all of the boats from the network. So I'm just looking at Guard Lake, and there's quite a few boats sitting at Docklands, because they've not been reset to the new tick system. So I think they've just been sat at the docks for months now. So in particular, I'm going to set up some new water bus routes around Guard City. So between Menpool to the north and what have we got here? South Bank maybe? Or Bankside. Bankside might be a good one actually, because then you cross over the city. So yeah, Menpool to the north, which is just to the east of St George, and Bankside to the south, and then maybe Docklands to the west and St John to the east, and also Guard City St Peter to the west and St John to the east. Some of these will also run via the docks that we've got on Guard Lake. So particularly on the island, we've got Guard Lake itself. We've also got one called Teenhozer Pier. Now someone suggested that. I think it was Gert-Jan van der Horst, but I'm not 100% sure, because it definitely sounds like a Dutch name, Teenhozer. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation as well, by the way. And I might build some extra docks around the island and try and connect them up with buses or trams or something like that. We also have St Mark's docks to the south. We should build a dock at South Bank actually, because that would be quite handy. And we've also got East Bank to the east, and we've got Lafayette Lakeside to the west. And then we've got all the Docklands piers as well for cruise ships and the such. So I'm going to go away, I'm going to set up some water bus routes, I'm going to set up some water taxi routes, maybe even some long haul routes as well. I'm also going to plan out that section of river I was talking about between Great Winfield and the South Freight Terminal. When I've built the river, the Guard River to the east or the northeast, and connected it up to the big lake just before Plindon Junction, I will also build a set of docks there that connect up, or a dock there that connects up to the North Freight Terminal, because I think instead of having trains running constantly between north terminal and south terminal. That's not always the best way of doing it, because there's multiple different types of cargo that need to be conveyed. So I think I'll use boats as well, some big tankers for things like oil and fuel and petrol, and maybe just some big container ships for things like goods and food. Although actually maybe not goods and food, because they need to be moved quickly, but things like steel and wood, they can go in big ships like that, because they're not what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word right now. Perishables, that's the one. They're not perishables, so they can go on ships like that. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let the music take over for the last minute and a half or whatever it is, and I'm going to say thank you very much everybody for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you're enjoying the series. Once again, really keen to get the like count up, because it's dropped a lot, so we need to get that up. The view count is stable, so I'm quite happy with that. But do share the video with as many people as you can. It's very much appreciated. And besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified of all future uploads. And of course, if you have already subscribed and you haven't clicked the bell, then be sure to do that. But also, thank you very much for your continued support. Until next time, guys, thank you very much once again for watching. Enjoy the rest of the music and the time lapse, and until next time, I will see you soon.